The vow isn't, I will do everything and throw myself under the bus.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be partners. And so I think that there's a time and place where this is just complete. But the ones that meet that bar, and that's the hard part, because you've got to hold the boundary of like, what is it that I'm willing to accept? And do I want somebody that can see me as a multifaceted human and want to get to know me and be partnership with me? What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
So calibrate on action, not on potential.
I mean, in this life, nothing is actually certain when it all boils down to it. Like nothing in life is 100% certain, really.
It's okay to go back and have hope, but keep your eyes open and calibrate for action. And when there isn't real, long-lasting change, understand what's actually taken place.
If you've been through a marriage or a long-term partnership that didn't work out, or even if you're single and wondering what it takes to get it right this time, this episode is for you. On this episode of P.S I Love Me, I'm joined by the incredible Betsy Pake, certified master coach, speaker, and founder of the Navigate method, who has spent over the last 12 years helping women find clarity in their relationships. Betsy works with women navigating the crossroads of marriage, whether to stay or whether to go. But today, we're flipping the script. We're talking about what you need to know before you walk down that aisle, the conversations you should have, the red flags you can't ignore, and that self-awareness that makes all the difference between a partnership that thrives and one that may slowly suffocate. So if you're dating, thinking about partnership, or simply wanting to make sure you never settle again, this conversation will give you the clarity and confidence to choose wisely. Let's dive in with Betsy Pake. Betsy, welcome to P.S I Love Me. I've been so excited to have this conversation, as essentially you help women get out of unhealthy relationships and I help them get into healthier ones. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of juicy things we're going to unveil today. But you've spent 12 years helping many women navigate relationships decisions. And obviously today we're talking about what women need before they're taking that leap into even living with someone and marriage. But let's go back to the beginning. How did you get to do what you do today? Are you, by any chance like me, a product of your experience?
I know. I wish I wasn't. I wish I wasn't, but I think there is so much opportunity in real life learning, and being able to share, to distill the nuggets out of what went wrong and what you wish you'd done differently and what you wish you'd known to be able to come into this. I have been working with women since 2012 to make big transitional decisions. And while I was doing all that work, I had my own big transitional decision that I was hedging, that I was just kind of living with and feeling that internal turmoil. And when I started the Navigate method was really when I had kind of got the key to how to unlock that so that I didn't feel in that purgatory of decision. And so, as with so many of us, the work that I do is really distilled down from that exact journey.
Yeah, and you talk about that purgatory. I said when we first got chatting, oh, I wish I'd known you in 2010 when I was in that shall I say, shall I go? And it's so confusing. And when you haven't done that journey of self-awareness and understand who you are and what you really want and how to communicate and all the other things that we need to do to navigate a relationship, it's so hard. I mean, hands up for whoever's listening to this, who's ever made a pros and cons list of shall I say, shall I go?
Totally. Yes, totally. And I think that there's something to learn that we all have to learn about. Why did we choose this? Because even if it's really terrible, we chose it. Nobody made us be here. So we chose it. And I think that is the key to be able to unlock, like, how do I not recreate this with somebody else? But also, is there an opportunity to fix what I have? Like not every relationship has to be over, but the way the relationship is being done has to be over.
Yeah, I agree. And quite often, I mean, when with my clients, when we do a map of past relationships, we spot the patterns. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I see quite common is the lack of self-worth, which is kind
Mm.
of that underlying fault line. Obviously it's different to confidence and self-esteem, but it's what we deserve, what we will put up
Yeah.
with. And that can really come into play as well. Is that what you see as well?
Yeah, I think that's such an important thing that you just said, Linda. I think that it is self-worth, but I think most women would say, I do have self-worth. I think the way that it comes into our lives is really sneaky. And I
Yeah,
think it's in an effort for us to be good. Like we want to be
yeah,
good partners. We want to be good moms. We want to be good employees or good entrepreneurs or good, 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 good. And that good leads into like self-abandonment. Like all of it. So self-abandonment is just spilling out all over.
yeah,
And
yeah.
especially when you first start not abandoning yourself, it feels so uncomfortable. It's almost impossible to do without somebody like holding your hand and saying, "No, it's okay. This is what we
Yeah.
do."
Absolutely. I've literally just got off a coaching call with one of my clients today, and she said, she's obviously single, but I'm everything to everyone. She's
Mhm.
a really high up at work, a team
Yeah.
of 50. She's the best aunt, the best sister, the best friend.
Yeah.
She doesn't know how to receive. You talk about being good and
Yeah.
like being the best version of yourself, but it's also looking at how do we also receive? How do we put ourselves first and fill our cup up? That old saying, you can't
Yeah.
pour from an empty cup. And I think that
Mhm.
also comes into play, especially with high achieving women, which is my niche and what I specialize in,
Yeah.
because I'm a product of me as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but
We teach what
I
we know, Linda.
we
We teach what
do
we
lived experience. It really
Yeah.
does. It really does work. And yeah, when what I see with the high achieving women, they're all such givers. Like they
Yeah.
don't know how to ask for help. And I'm literally like, okay, let's start practicing asking for like mini mini segments of support or help. I'm not talking about dating relationships yet, but in your circle, from friends, even from a team. Like, how does that feel? How does that feel to be a little bit vulnerable and open yourself up and ask for that help? Hey, I'm moving house. Oh, you couldn't spare an hour on Saturday morning to come and
Mm.
help me pack the boxes up, could you? So it's what do you see with your ladies, especially if they're the high achievers? They may be the ones that are the money earners, the breadwinners at home. What nuances do you see with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, just what you said resonates so much. I think the idea that we want community. And as women, we want to be part of something. But
Yeah,
being part of community means being vulnerable and asking for what you need as well. It's not always giving, it's receiving as well.
yeah,
And I think, the women that I talk with so often, and I'm sure you hear this too, is they're like, I don't even know what I want because they have been giving, giving, giving and not in a reciprocal relationship in any area of their lives. And I think, especially with women that are high achieving, is that they have unlocked a key that makes them feel their value. And so
yeah,
they have attached, and, I could go down a rabbit hole of blaming the patriarchy, which I think harms women as much as men. I think it harms both, or men as much as women, I would say. But I think that we forget that we have inherent value. And I know for me, even that concept is like, oh, yeah, I know, put my air mask on first. I know I'm worthy, but not actually living that, not
yes,
really knowing that. Like knowing that on your pros and cons list is different than feeling that in your body, than having your nervous system understand that. And when your nervous system doesn't understand it, it's going to seek out safety and worthiness by doing what we've been told to do, which is be productive. Don't be slothy, right? Don't, those seven deadly sins come, don't have any pride about anything, but also don't rest. And also be, small as you can be. And also,
yeah.
do everything. It's just an impossible task.
It's so conflicting, and you're right, and it does lead to burnout because
Yeah.
if you're attaching your worth to your external validation of doing the things and being the good person to everyone and everything, with
Yeah.
nothing left for you, you know,
Mhm.
you do end up in burnout and not even knowing yourself and quite disconnected from your body. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're in the masculine driving mode and doing, achieving, and strategizing and pushing, and then
Yeah.
quite often we get cut off by our sensations in the body. What do we actually feel? And it's like, when we've someone's, well, I've pulled my back many times with renovating my cottage recently, but
Mhm.
normally when you creak your neck or your back, it's normally niggling for about 3 or 4 months before, but you're just pushing the signs away and sweeping
Yeah.
under the carpet. And then all of a sudden it explodes. And quite
Mhm.
often when we're not connected to how we're feeling, whether that's feeling in general energized, are we well, are we sick, or feeling about our relationship, then all of a sudden this thing blows up. And actually, it was niggling away all beneath the surface, but we just didn't recognize or spot it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think ignoring how we're feeling until we can no longer ignore it, and, that is a pattern I've lived as well, but I think that women, especially high achieving women, do that really well because, again, they're trying to fit into this idea of themselves,
Yeah,
and when a version of themselves that could be really fulfilled and happy and taken care of and, you know, being well-rounded instead of being so focused in this way. It's a different way of living, but you've gotta shift the perspective to a different perspective of how to live. And
yeah,
when we have been taught and programmed on one way to live, that can be a really hard transition.
yeah. It is. It's like unlearning and relearning, isn't it? And the
Mm,
baby steps that go with that, like just
yeah,
trying that new thing, trying asking for help, trying receiving, trying allowing some more space around ourselves and our energy. And yeah, it can feel like a completely wild world when you're just so wired and used to the fight or flight mode. The nervous system
yeah,
always on, and then allowing yourself to relax and just be. We're human
yeah,
beings, not human doings. Whoa, this feels weird. I'm not doing
yeah.
anything right now. I'm not achieving. There's no output for this 1 hour of rest.
Yeah, and I think, if we are perfectionists or if we lean in that direction, getting help means that somebody might not do it exactly the way that you want, and that
Yes.
can be a transition in itself because 'cause you've gotta be okay with, like, somebody else doing it not as good, or
Yeah.
not in the and so many of the women I work with, have partners who capitalize on that in order to not do help, right?
Yeah.
To not
Yeah.
actually participate and do things. So they go like, "Okay, great. I chose a woman who will just do it all for me." And that really
Yeah.
works until it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah. Absolutely. So when clients come to you, right, they book a discovery call with you. Hey,
Mhm.
Betsy, this is what's coming up. What are the common themes that you get on that first call?
They're exhausted.
Yeah.
They're completely depleted. They don't feel like they really are in a partnership. And one of the biggest things that I see is they don't want to hurt their partner's feelings.
Mm,
So they're like, I feel like this is so done. Like they've been grieving their relationship likely for quite a while, and they don't want their partner to be upset or to be hurt. And I think that is just it encapsulates the whole idea that I'm managing somebody else's emotions.
mm,
Right? Because if you're not managing his emotions, you allow him to be hurt. Like, it would
yeah.
be a normal thing to feel hurt if somebody is unhappy in a relationship with you. But instead of having those hard conversations for all the different reasons that they don't, they 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 hold it and they manage it, and then they get to this crossroads where they're totally overwhelmed. Likely they're in midlife, so their hormones are starting to change, and so they don't feel the need. It doesn't mean that the dynamic was okay before, it just means their need to hold it all is waning, and
Yeah.
now they're left with, like, "Who am I? What's in it for me?" And how long do I really have to keep doing this in order to keep the peace in this house?
Yeah, yeah, it's just so true. I resonated with that so much because when I left my ex, who was he was a good man, and I will never speak
So
badly of him.
yeah,
But I 100% felt so guilty for leaving
yeah,
that marriage. And I went through all the things to try and make it work. But at the end of the
yeah,
day, I was waning and I was deeply unhappy. And that's when
yeah.
I had to make the decision. But it was 100% that, Betsy. I was riddled in the guilt, riddled in not wanting to
Yeah,
hurt him.
mhm,
And he's now happily remarried with 2 kids, and I'm super pleased for him.
yeah,
But it is just that when you're a good egg, when you're a good human being, it's one of
mhm.
the worst things that you can ever do is to hurt somebody. Not
And to
intentionally, but to save yourself.
yes, and to say, like, this relationship is complete because the world tells us that if it doesn't work out, it's a failure or
Yeah,
that you're, like, breaking some, bond, and I know people have different thoughts on
yeah,
that, but I always am of the thinking of, like, the bond isn't until you completely abandon yourself, like, the bond isn't until you're broken, like, the bond that's not what the vow is, right? The vow isn't, "I will do everything and throw myself under the bus."
yeah,
You're supposed to be partners, and so I think that there's a place where and a time and place where this is just complete. Like, it's both people have grown from it, you've gotten what you need from it, and it's okay to peacefully say, like, "Hey, this is done for me." And I
yeah,
think so many times women are like, "It's not done for him." But when you get to the place where you're actually leaving, and I know this in my own partnership, and I've seen it happen in the group, the man then says, like, "Ugh, you're right. Like, this wasn't serving. Like, I wasn't showing up the way I wanted to show up. I wasn't being who I wanted to be." Like, th nobody's super happy and somebody really unhappy.
yeah. And also, eh, without sounding cliched, but it's almost the kind thing to do, then you can eventually he can open up his world to someone who's
Like you
more
were saying with your
compatible.
former spouse. Yeah, like he's
Yeah,
out living a
exactly.
good life.
Exactly. No, it's so true, and yeah, opening that door to new possibilities. But what you just said, the way you reframed it, versus it's the end, it's a failure. No, it's just complete. It's run its course,
Yeah,
and quite often when people get married so young or committed in long term relationships in their 20s, I mean, we're still learning so much about ourselves. We're kids in our 20s, really,
yeah,
and
yeah,
until for me, until I got in my early 40s, but we're still learning, evolving, I only
yeah,
really became fully me, zero fucks me, wholly self-aware me, and when I just after my 40th birthday, and
yeah,
20s and 30s is just learning and learning and
yeah.
still learning now, which is the best thing in life. But it's fascinating, isn't it, looking at what we learn through our different decades in life.
Decades. Yeah, absolutely. And I think those early years, 20s and 30s, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. There's a lot of life happening in those years,
Yeah,
and building careers and families and all of those things. And I do think that something happens in our 40s, likely, where it slows down a little bit and we have a chance to reflect. And
yeah,
I think that's a really important part of growth, but also like leaning into our wise women years. There is a version of us that comes out in all of this that is steady and clear and knows what she wants. And that makes it much easier to build a life that feels really good to you. But I think it
mm,
makes a lot of sense, and there's no shame in being in your 20s and 30s and like doing all the things that we were told to do. Like, I did that, and then you get to reflect and decide.
yeah. And it is so liberating, isn't it, when you get to this stage in life, because I heard this phrase once, the purpose in life is to liberate and free ourselves from the prison that we put around ourselves, like all these
Mm,
expectations, societal norms. We must be this, we must be that. But to be fully
yeah,
ourselves and to be wanted to be seen for ourselves as well. It's, as we were saying before, it's all right knowing that we've got self-worth, but it's actually practicing having self-worth. And it's all right knowing who we are and our values and what we want, but it's also putting that into practice as well.
yeah, yeah. And I think we do a lot of management of ourselves to stay in the form that we were told to be, so we have a lot of self-talk around that, and a lot of, and I'm sure your ex-partner was a good man, but I hear that a lot, like he's a good guy, he's a good guy. And doesn't mean you have to be married to him. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
good guys out there, and I don't want to be married to him. Like, that doesn't, he's not the only one in the world. So I think that that's like such an important thing to notice, how we're like adapting to the world around us, especially when it comes to partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell me a little bit more about the navigate. So when they come to you, the first things they say, they're like, oh, they've been carrying this for a while. They're scared of hurting their husband. And then you take them through a coaching program that really helps them get clarity on whether they should stay or whether they should go. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always say, and I say this in like all my videos on social media and all of those things, that like I have no skin in the game. Like, I am thrilled when people stay. This week we had two people in our program that decided to stay. Like, their lives and their marriages are transformed because they were
Cool.
able to see things in a new way, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's all a miracle is. It's like you see something
Yeah.
with a new perspective. And sometimes people come through and they decide that it's complete and it's been complete, but they're relieving themselves of the purgatory of indecision and really relieving their partner of being with somebody who, has already checked out. And I think that's valuable. But really, what it comes down to is knowing what your standards are, what your values are, how it is you want to live, and how to communicate in a way that the other person that you're trying to partner with can understand. And I think when we do this, and when we do any of this work, right, it doesn't just end in your partnership. Like, you learn how to be a better communicator, and now you're having better relationships with your adult kids, and you're
Yeah.
having better work relationships. You're
Yes.
understanding the world in a different way.
Yes, totally. We have these chats on our group coaching calls. I had one lady, oh my God, like my relationship with my CEO is so much better now because I know how to
Yeah.
communicate when I have a problem. Or
Yes.
we talk about one of my ladies was watching Married at First Sight Australia. She was like, wow, I'm seeing everything in such a different light now. But it's fascinating
Yeah.
when you open, when you're aware of human behavior, ourselves, what you really want, what you don't want, and you look at not the perfect modeling, but how everyone else is set up. You start like really opening your eyes to what's possible and the nuances of different relationships. So it's
Yeah.
fascinating. You can't unsee it, can you? Once you get into this line of work, you
Yeah.
can't unsee these things. A friend of mine, she's also a coach, and we reconnected when I got back from Singapore, and we met up, and that's one of the things that we said. We both went through the same coaching training, and we're just like, wow, you can't unsee things anymore, and it's a blessing, but it's also a bit of a burden.
Yes, it is.
uh,
Yeah. I
uh,
always say that everything is like, it's like you're standing in front of a disco ball, right?
yes,
All these little mirrors, and it depends where you're standing what you see. And so
yeah,
if you don't like what you see, then you gotta just shift around the disco ball
absolutely,
and see
yeah,
something a little
exactly.
different.
I love that
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah.
Now, going back to what women should really look for before they walk down that aisle. I mean,
Yeah.
UK stats at the moment, 42% of marriages end in divorce, which is almost half,
Yeah.
sadly.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, before we get into what they should consider, what they should know, why do you think divorces are on the increase and continue to be on the increase?
I think
Yep.
likely because women have options. In the 70s, women couldn't get checking accounts on their own, or and as women have built careers and become independent, now you no longer need a partner for survival. Now they
Yeah.
need a partner to actually act like a partner, and I think men haven't been socialized to do that. They've been socialized to be a provider, and now when that need isn't so important to so many women, they don't know how to adapt. And I think until they learn how to adapt, there's gonna be this disconnect that happens.
Yeah. It it's hard going for both sides, isn't it? Because as women have become more independent, more successful, um, got our rights back,
Yeah.
it has switched the balancing scales with relationships in terms of being the providers, men feeling demasculated, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But you're right though, when you look at the real core of a healthy relationship, like a deeply connected relationship, it goes down to, the openness, the vulnerability, the care, the compassion, all the
Yeah,
amazing values that make up a relationship, and a lot of people don't even check that out when they enter into a marriage.
like, I think that really knowing somebody and liking them and wanting to spend time with them, and I don't just mean this for the woman and liking the man, I mean the man liking the woman. Like, not just for what she does, not just for what she brings up. And so now the standard for men isn't like you just have to be able to pay the mortgage. We can pay the mortgage. It's no big deal. So now it's like you have to actually be interested in me.
Yeah.
You have to like want to know me and find things about me that you appreciate. And so the standards of just being human and having relationship is is totally changed. And so I think that there is some real growth that needs to happen with a lot of men, but a lot of women also like not settling, right? When you have your standards and you know what they are, then you're going to find a lot of people fall off as you're dating. But the ones that meet that bar, and that's the hard part because you've got to hold the boundary of like, what is it that I'm willing to accept? And do I
Yeah.
want somebody that can see me as a multifaceted human and want to get to know me and be partnership with me. I mean, that's the thing I see so often in the people I work with at this point. They've been married 20, 25, sometimes 40 years. And they're like, he doesn't know me. He doesn't even like me. And that I think is like really heartbreaking. They just
Yeah.
filled the role. And maybe that was good 40 years ago, but it's not the same anymore.
No. Everyone wants, men and women, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be
People
understood.
do. Yeah.
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 Well, so let's talk about what would you advise a woman if she's thinking about getting married next year? What are the 5 things that she should know or be aware of, or questions that she should ask before she
Yeah.
walks down that aisle? Big question, I know, but
Yeah, so I would say absolutely know that what you see is what you get.
yeah.
So calibrate on action, not on potential. I mean, a million times a day I hear like, I know he could do better. I know he could. I know he could. And that's just your own potential that you're seeing, like projecting onto him. So calibrate based on what he's doing. That is what you have. That's what you're going to get. So accepting that. And if that's not acceptable, then move on. The second thing is notice if he can have really hard conversations or if he gets flooded or shuts down. So hard conversations about money, about trips, about like big things that may be activating for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Notice if he can actually have those hard conversations, I think
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah, so important, and not be the avoidant or don't shut down or don't have the silent treatment for 3 days on end. being
Yeah.
able to have emotional maturity to be able to navigate hardships and difficult talking about difficult things.
Yeah.
And that goes for the same, you know, money, but also losing a parent, health issues. It's being in that life together, isn't it? And being able to
Yeah.
being willing to have those hard conversations.
Yeah. And I think the next one is to really notice if you feel like he likes you, not just when there's something he wants from you, but is he
Yeah.
interested in what you're interested in? Like, does he want to participate in the things that you like? Does he genuinely delight when you are happy? Or does he get annoyed if you're really happy? Like, these are things that happen all the time and people kind of brush them under the rug because, again, they're calibrating for potential. And
Yeah.
so notice how he really reacts when you're joyful, when you're struggling, like all of those things. Does he see you as a multifaceted human?
Such a good point. Such a good point. Because we can all put this shiny, fancy mask on when we go out on the dates and do our things and stand up at
Yeah.
work and present. But it's when we're at our core and also when we're at our most weakest and the most vulnerable, are they willing to be there for the hard yards as well and stand by us?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the last two, I think it's really important to know if he can see what needs to be done without you seeing it. This sounds like such a like no like this is just something I hear all the time. Is like I make him a list, and I had a client that told me once they made a list around Thanksgiving time, and they had printed out like what they were going to be making from the internet, and it like gave them a grocery list. You know how sometimes it'll do that? And
Oh
so they
yeah.
crossed off all the spices on the list because they had the spices. And then they gave the list to their partner, to their husband, and he went to the grocery store. And he came back with $78 worth of spices. All he bought was the spices. And so he was like, "Well, those were the things that were marked off." And she was like, "Well, the, like there's like use common sense. Like we've I'm making a big dinner, your family is the one coming over, whatever." And so these things I think are so important. Like, does he notice when things have to be done, or does he have you ask him for the things that need to be done? Like, how intuitively is he thinking ahead and taking ownership? And I think ownership is kind of the key word in that.
Yeah. And that can be quite tricky. Um, I'm I'm gonna make a wild comment here, but, in my experience, I do find that women are just huge multitaskers and are be able to
Mhm.
do many things at once. Whereas
Yeah.
I do find that men's brains are wired slightly differently, and it's one thing at a time. And
Mm.
that can sometimes be frustrating when you're managing all the things and they say, "Oh, I'll get this done once this thing is done." And it's like, "Really?"
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Linda, but they can do it at work.
Yes.
They multitask at work. They don't need a whole bunch of direction at work. They can think ahead at work. And so
Agree.
I think that when it's important and they don't see or value those tasks as important.
Yeah, agree. I totally agree. If you love P.S I Love Me and truly want change in love and life, then join the Evolve Woman program, my 12-week online coaching journey, which will take you on a transformative experience of self-discovery to find the joy, connection, and deep love you so deserve. Just go to lindawilliamscoaching.com to find out more.
And then the last thing is a little tricky, but it is, how does he manage interactions between his family and you?
Oh.
So, and I hear this from women all the time that they're like wanting to talk to their partner, to their husband about his mother, like his mother coming around the holidays. I hear this a lot in group, like his mom's coming. I'm so nervous. And he always sides with her. And I think there's
Mm,
something that happens when you choose your partner and you choose your family. You say, this is my priority. Now, anybody listening can totally think differently. I just want to bring this up as something to evaluate and you decide what's right for you. But if you are forming a partnership and you guys are on the same page and he's always choosing his family, I think that can get really tricky and can leave you feeling really isolated at all the times that matter. There was a
Yeah.
video that went viral, and it was a woman who was visiting her fiance's family for Thanksgiving last year, and they all played this huge practical joke where they pretended they were doing a turkey trot. So she trained for months before so she could do this turkey trot, and they all had T-shirts made, and when they took the picture, they were like, "Just kidding, there's no turkey trot." And the fiance was laughing with his family, so it was like, she had done all this work, anticipated this
Oh,
thing, trying to fit in, and he sided with his family and was laughing at her. And my immediate thought was that kind of behavior, and again, I'm making an assumption from the short video that I saw, but that kind of behavior, like what happens when she has a baby and like she needs him to really show up for her? Like what happens when there's small kids and there's family around? Like, does he always side and leave her feeling isolated? And I think the family component is a really, really important piece of this.
yeah, it really is. And it also comes down to respect as well. I mean,
Yeah.
prioritization of who's important. And sometimes we're always juggling depending on needs and who needs what if there's health scares or one parent has
Yeah.
passed away and we're being pulled from post to pillar. And
Yep.
it's being able to balance that, but also having respect for your partner. I mean,
Mhm.
that makes me feel really sad about that turkey trot. I mean, but
I
poor
know.
girl, she must have felt so humiliated.
Humiliated. And after putting in all that effort, yeah, really hard. I've always been happy I've never been in a turkey trot family
Yeah,
myself. Like, I wanna sit around and eat on our Thanksgiving. I don't wanna go running, but I love that people do. I love that there's something for
yeah,
everybody. Yeah.
yeah. I'm pretty lucky. My partner's mom, she's my mom and his mom get on like a house on fire, and we're all going on
Oh, okay.
holiday together later this year, so I'm really blessed in that respect.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and
Yeah.
and he does a good job of balancing all of that out, but it's yeah, those are some really interesting points, and
Yeah.
perhaps some of the things people wouldn't have considered before either, and
Yeah.
how is that person making you feel at the end of the day, as you
Mhm.
said on that last point?
Yeah.
Um and when you taking women throughout this program, at the end of it, obviously, when they've made that decision, it
Mhm.
sounds like a lot of them do have the clarity and confidence. They're not in the purgatory anymore, and they make the
Yeah.
decision to leave. What happens next? Like, how are they feeling at the end of the program? Like, what is their course for them after them?
Yeah, I think empowered is the word that I hear so often at our transition calls, as they
Yeah,
leave the main program and they go into our alumni group. But empowered, and like I said, I think that bleeds over into so many different areas of their life. I,
yeah,
I uh, you know, I want to say this. At the beginning, when I first started this program, I think in my heart, I wanted women to come to their truth, and wanted them to figure out how to stay. Like, I think I really did. Personally, I was like, I want them to stay. And now I see it so different. Now I see so many women coming to me sometimes to get that perspective and to really work to change. But a lot of times I'm noticing people come because they're like, I'm so done, but I don't know how to get myself to a place that I can mentally go through what I know I'm going to have to go through.
mm,
And I think they still have a smidgen of hope, right? Because we always have to have hope. But I always say the hope is needs to turn away from him. I have hope he'll do something different. I have hope he'll change. I have hope he'll meet me and instead turn to you. I have hope I can see this for what it is. I have hope that I can feel empowered. I have hope that I can handle the next right thing in front of me. And so, when people leave my program, now I just am so excited to see them living in their truth and being oriented on their path to where they need to go and what's next for them. And then, we continue to to support them in all kinds of different ways. I always say that I have an alumni group that they go into where they can have group with me every month. So it's free and they get to stay with me. But it's really for me because I get really attached to everybody and I'm like, I I don't want to not ever see you again. So I keep them close, you know?
I'm just the
So
same. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, you're graduating.
Yes, totally, totally. And it's so funny too because they will, if they're ever in town, they'll reach out. And I actually had someone about it was probably about 2 summers ago now, who reached out. They had been a client of mine like 5 years ago. And she's like, "My mom is driving through Atlanta and got in a car accident and I don't know what to do." And I was like, "Where is she?" She told me, "I got to her mom before the police did." Like I was on it. Do you know what I mean? And so I
Oh,
feel like we just, it's such a vulnerable place that they're in. And I just have so much respect for them, that to just be part of their lives forever just really feels like an honor,
oh,
you know?
that's really special. It's
Yeah.
it's really special when you empower someone because you're putting them in the driving seat. It's similar to what I do. It's, they're in control and they're making the
Yeah.
decisions, but you're empowering them with the coaching, with the frameworks and everything you do. So that's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
thing what you were saying about hope, I hope things work out. I hope he'll respond in this way. I hope he'll make a difference. I mean, in this life, nothing is actually certain when it all boils down to it. Like nothing in
Yeah.
life is 100% certain, really. So
There's
if
no
it,
right answer.
no, there's not. And I guess with some of the women who have made that decision and they go and share with their husband, this is the end. This relationship is complete, as you say.
Yeah.
And then the guy says, "Oh, okay, well, let's work on it then."
Yeah.
Frustration, right? I bet that has
Yeah.
happened quite a lot. From my experience, it has happened,
All the
with
time.
my
Yeah.
clients as well, but
Mhm.
how do you then support them when they come back, "Well, and he's now said this."
Yeah. Yeah. Calibrate for action.
Yeah.
Always calibrate for action. So, we are able to make choices and conscious choices for a certain amount of time before we go back into our unconscious ways.
Mm,
So, change can be held for a couple weeks, sometimes even a couple months. And then when you're not paying attention, it goes back to the baseline. So until he does some work to change his baseline. And so I think this is such an important part because I experienced this. I got up the bravery to leave and he said he would do all the things. And I leaned into hope and trying. And I think sometimes that's a really valid part of someone's journey. I
mm,
stayed for a couple of years and then finally had the wisdom to recognize that nothing was going to change. And I think this really comes down to a values difference. And if you don't have the same
mm.
values as your partner, and what I mean by that is if he had come to me and said, "I'm so struggling with this, I'm so unhappy. I can't keep doing it this way. I need your support." If he had come to me and said that, I would have done anything in the moment. Like, I wouldn't want a partner who was living in misery. But the truth is, so many times that partner doesn't care until it impacts them and it
Yes.
impacts them because you leave. That's a values difference. I don't care about you. I care about me. And now this impacts me. And
Yeah.
that I think is something to have your eyes wide open. And it's okay to go back and have hope, but keep your eyes open and calibrate for action. And when there isn't real long lasting change, understand what's actually taken place.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And one it's a very valid point in terms of when it starts to affect them. Oh, divorce might be on the cards. How much is gonna take me for the separation with
Yeah.
the kids and all the rest of it. When it does start to impact them, it's then, oh right, I need to pull my finger out now. And most of the time it's too late.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of the art of living big, you
Yep.
also have your own podcast.
Yeah, I've had a
Tell me
podcast
about
for
it.
a long, long time.
Yeah.
We talk about these things, but we also talk about just living life in an authentic way and being more intentional. I share a lot of personal stories and the lessons that I get along the way. So, yeah, the art of living big.
So outside of relationships and love that we've been focusing on today,
Yeah.
and living intentionally, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think living intentionally is being aware, like having your eyes open and choosing. I'm big on choosing the reality that I want to have. I often say to my clients, like things can change in an instant because your awareness, right? You shift in front of the disco ball and now you see something totally different. It's a miracle, right? Miracles happen all the time with that perspective
Yeah,
shift. And so I always say, like, right now, how does my life look? Is this how I want it to look for the next week, for the next month, for the next 5 years? If it's not, then nothing has to stay the way it is. I get to choose. And I
yeah,
choose that by being aware. And so being intentional is really something that I do every day in how I operate and how I do things.
yeah. And then give me a couple of perhaps tips that you could share with the listeners what you intentionally do every day. I follow you on Instagram and I know you post, and I love your stories that you share about, I think it's good things that
Good
has
things.
happened today.
Yeah.
And they're the cutest things ever, and it's almost like, a flip on a gratitude journal, but it's like good
Yeah.
things and your little cat's there. It's absolutely adorable, and that really
Yeah.
boosts you as well.
Yeah, he's always my little cat is always in the frame. He likes to get his picture taken too. So every day, I'm about to turn 55. I'll be 55 by the time this airs likely. So I found, going through my own divorce in my 50s and then it's sometimes hard to find your style and your body's a little different and showing up. And so I started posting my outfits, but I gotta tell you, I was like, nobody cares about my outfit. Like, nobody cares about my outfit. So I just started putting things I was thinking about, the good things, focusing on those things on the side of that photo. And now it's funny because people love the good things, but they also are so interested in my outfits. And so it's been kind of fun to discover like my fashion too as I go. But yeah, every day I post this photo onto my Instagram stories with my outfit and just a list of things that I have thought about that are good. And I think this is such an important practice and doing that made me notice things all day long. But there's so
Yeah,
many things we take for granted, like that we don't even notice. Like my toilet flushes. Like the fact that I even have
yeah,
plumbing. That's a
yeah,
miracle. Like I can flip a thing in my kitchen and water comes out. Like miracle.
yeah,
Sometimes it's just like giraffes' necks. Like I'm just thinking,
yeah,
like I'll be thinking like that is a really cool
yeah.
thing. So the gratitude for me are just being aware of things that are cool. I have this little thing that I do every day in the shower multiple times. I can show you. So it is this little prayer and I go, thank you for, and I made up these little hand things to help me remember it. But thank you for this opportunity to enjoy life. I want my day to unfold with ease. I want good
Oh,
things to come my way. I want to remember to appreciate people and places and things. I want to be good to myself and others. I want to end this day feeling happy and satisfied. I want to remember at all times that all things are possible. And I do that multiple times and multiple times throughout the day, so all these little things, like life can change in an instant. And the more we are focused on where we want to go and how great the things are that we have, like the
yeah,
better our life is. We can enjoy it much better.
yeah. And yeah, it's such a beautiful thing that you say in the morning. How gorgeous. And but you're right. I'm going to enjoy this day as well. Whatever it brings, I'm going to
Yeah.
embrace it and enjoy it. And I know tomorrow's another day if it doesn't work out. But it is,
Yeah.
I always go back to we are human beings. We're not human doings, and being
Uh,
in the present and enjoy each day. Yes, we will have these things in the future that we want to do,
yeah.
but just
Yeah.
enjoying the journey as well instead of always racing. That happiness is a journey, not a destination. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. Just living and
Yeah.
appreciating ourselves. I used to keep well, I still keep a gratitude journal,
Yep.
but it goes on and off. I have to admit that. But you're
Yeah.
right. Some of my things were in there. I'm so grateful that I've got fresh running water.
Yeah.
I can afford really nutritious food to nourish my body with. I can
Right.
afford to go to yoga classes and to the gym. And these are actually wonderful things. And it really just shifts your vibrations, doesn't it? It really
Totally.
energizes you, going, actually, life's pretty
Yeah.
good.
I had to get some dental work last year, and I left the dentist, as one does, like with this bill that I was like, oh my God, this is like thousands of dollars. I don't know why our teeth bones are different from our other bones, but my insurance
Yeah.
didn't cover it. And so and then I thought, how cool that I really like all the people that work in the dental office. And so I'm helping pay their salary. And how cool that somebody studied to learn how to help me. And then
Yeah.
I thought about the people that taught the dentist. And then I thought the people that made the textbooks. And then I imagined the people that made the textbooks at like the textbook factory going
Yeah.
home and having dinner with their kids, and that their kids were getting fed because I was paying this bill. Like, all of the sudden, that dental work felt like a really fun thing.
Yeah. It's flipping the story, isn't it? Something similar happened to me this morning, actually. I had some new cleaners show up and they were late and they were in such a panic.
Mhm.
Um, and because I'd said my previous cleaners were really unreliable, they didn't show up. They were lovely
Yep.
people, but they just took on too much work. Anyway, she was 20 minutes late and she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so late. I know this was a bugbear of you last time, yada, yada. Anyway, her car had broken down. She shows up. She said, I don't have time to do a proper clean, but can I come back tomorrow? I was like, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to order an Uber to get to my next destination. I was like, look, just hop in the car with me and with her
Yeah.
assistant. So
Yeah.
anyway, I flipping the
Yeah.
switch, like, yeah, I didn't get my house cleaned today. So what? She was an incredible lady from West
Yeah.
Africa, moved to
Yep.
the UK 8 years ago, was a research scientist in insects.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah.
she has a child with learning disabilities, and she decided that she needed a more flexible way of working. So she set up
Yeah.
this new cleaning company. She's absolutely killing it. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I got to learn about someone else's story, and she actually inspired me
Right.
today. And I got to help her as well. Like, she was so grateful that someone had
Mhm.
like bundled a stranger in their car and took her down the road. But we can always flip the switch on stories and experiences, can't we, if we choose to?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, it's such a good way of thinking about it. I always think like, you know, everybody's doing their best. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just the limit of the internal resources that they have. So, and
yeah.
I love that you get your house cleaned. I got to tell you, I think that's like one of the biggest forms of self-care. It's like the every other week, it's the only time of the month that I feel like I've really got my shit together is when the cleaning lady comes.
Oh yeah.
She leaves and I'm like, I have it all together.
Yeah, me too. Twice a month, the cleaner
Yeah,
comes in. It's like, "Oh, fairy's been in. Life's
totally.
amazing." And it's like, literally, I will drive you wherever you want.
Yeah, totally. I'll do anything for you. Just come back in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly.
totally.
Oh, Betsy, you've shared so many words of wisdom. It's been a joy to chat to you. Now, as we wrap up, I know it's always hard asking for that one piece of advice, but for a woman who's listening, who's dating and in a new relationship and wondering, is this the one? Is this
Mm,
really for me?
yeah.
What is the one question that she should ask herself first?
I would put your hand on your heart and say, if nobody got hurt and money didn't matter, what would I choose?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one, because that really tells you many things about when everything's stripped back,
Yeah.
what is there.
What is
Very
left?
powerful.
Yeah.
What is left. Well,
Yeah.
Betsy, it's been a pleasure. I hope to see you in person at some point when you're across the pond in London, or me
Yes.
near Atlanta. But
Yeah.
until then, thank you so much. And I can't wait for everyone to listen to this.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode of P.S. I Love Me. I hope you've learned some interesting nuggets to weave into your everyday life to feel a little lighter, brighter, and inspired. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more high-achieving women like yourselves to find us. And don't forget, wherever you are at in life, you are more than enough.